before I even make sense, I'm gonna have to talk about Monsters Inc. and Monsters University, because in a way, Mike Wazowski is a parallel to Pim from Smiling Friends, and it's gonna be sad once I get into it how that became. So when we first start off with Monsters University, we start off with a field trip of Mike Wazowski, and he's like 6 years old, and from the top, you know he's not scary, because no one likes him, everyone makes fun of him, and he's so lonely that his cousin didn't even want to, like, hang out with him. He carpools with his cousin, and he's like, and then his teacher's like, I guess it's you and me again, and then Mike, he calls her by her first name, and the teacher's like, don't call me that. Okay. So we get to the field trip part, and they find out how electricity is made, and it's by scaring children. So we see some scarers popping out, and then this blue one, he's like, I learned everything that I learned in Monsters University. And some other guy's like, no, Fear Tech is the best. And that's like another college or whatever. And Mike Wazowski is like inspired by the blue guy, so he follows him, all that stuff happens. He comes out, he says, I'm gonna be a scarer. So we cut to him going to college. He's in university, he applied for his college application or whatever, he filled out that FAFSA form, I'm assuming, I don't know, he's probably rich. I don't know. Anyways, you know he doesn't look scary. I mean, I personally think he would be scary if I saw him in real life. Just saying, me personally. But yeah, so we go to his first lecture, and we see Sully. Sully is the opposite of Mike Wazowski. He didn't work for anything. He's a Nepo baby. We know this because the professor was like, oh, as in this Sullivan? And then Sully was like, yeah, it's my dad. And then he doesn't even bring a pencil to school, which, hey, if you did that, what did you do in high school? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we find out that they're the complete opposites. They don't like each other, and then something happens. So when he learns, no wait, I have to talk about the scorpion lady. Okay, so the cockroach lady is like the main, like, I don't know, she's like the main girl. She was one of the best ones. She was like one of the best scarers, and she became, you know, a professor later in life. I'm assuming she works at the university. You know, she's business. She's retired. So she's like, oh, you know, since you guys made a ruckus or something, you guys are not gonna continue in the scare program. Like, you're out. And Mike is like, what did I do? And then she was like, you're not scary. And then yeah, sucks to suck. So in order to get back into the scare program, because Sully failed, that's why he's not like into it, you know, but Mike, he was doing great, he just wasn't freaking scary. So when they fail, they are kicked out, and in order to come back in, they have to prove themselves by doing the scare games, and that's where they meet Uzma Kappa, the least scariest monsters. It's a fraternity. So we have games based on fraternity culture, but it's also based on the monsters and different techniques of how to scare kids, and there's like little mini game competitions, and Mike's like the leader of it, he's like the manager of it, and even though he tries so hard to be scary, nothing works out. And then Sully's like, come on, dig deep! And he tries. So we get to the main final scare game, the actual test of what the scaring program does, where they have to scare an actual, like, not an actual, but like the system, the training system. They have to pass that. So they do it. It all goes good. It's the last moment. It's like the upper crust, the third Bradley guy, and then it's gonna be Mike Wazowski. And oh my god, Mike Wazowski has like this whole montage of doing everything he freaking practiced. And then the last thing you heard was, come on, dig, ah! And he does it. And guess what? They freaking win. They do 2 types of confettis. They do the, I don't know, roar one, so it's like red and orange. And then the Uzma Kappa, which is like yellow and green. Which one comes up? Which one flies? The yellow and green. So that's how you know Uzma Kappa actually won this thing. And everyone's shocked by this. Who's most shocked by this? Mike Wazowski. Even the freaking professor, the old one, she's like, oh my god, ain't no way. They won. Because Mike was so freaking scary. I bet he was. So, turns out, I lied. None of that happened. It did happen, but it didn't happen because Mike said, oh, he thought about Sully, and it was like, oh, dig deep. No, they won because before that happened, Sully did his turn and made sure to break the laugh machine. No, wait, the scream machine or whatever. He put it on the easiest setting for him. And we know this because Sully was like, oh, Mike, why don't you go last? Finish us off. He couldn't do that for everyone else. He had to do it for Mike because Mike wasn't scary. He knew this. He knew Mike wasn't scary, which is why the night before, he had him doing all those screams. And that's why he said, come on, dig deep. So yeah, we knew that Sully cheated. And because of this, he tells the mistress or whatever, like the scorpion lady, and she's like, I want you off campus immediately. He agrees to this. But Mikey, how did he respond when he found out that Sully cheated? He wanted to prove him wrong, so he went to the scaring world. I meant the real world. And everyone finds out about this, so they all run. Sully, I think he finds out that Mike goes in there, so as the yaoi boyfriend he is, as the Brokeback Mountain fantasy that this is, he runs after him, and everyone closes the door because they cannot interfere with the real world, and this is gonna almost cause, like, I don't know, Hurricane Katrina over there. So, we're at the real world. No one was scared of Mike, unfortunately. He's not scary looking, so no one screamed. They're like, you know, and it's like at a camp, so there's like a bunch of kids there. They don't think he's scary, so they call the cops or whatever because, you know, what is that? They probably thought it was like an animal. And yeah, Sully's there, and they see him, they see the police pulling up, they see adults pulling up, the door's not opening, they need to make someone scream. And then Mike Wazowski studied so freaking hard, and Sully was like, this is it. He's like, no, there's one of these types of scares, and it worked before in adults. We could try to replicate it. And Sully's like, I don't think I could do that. And no, I know they had like that whole river scene, but I'm getting into that later. Yeah, I'll get into that later. Just know that this is after that. So they performed this type of ritual, not a ritual, but like a rehearsal, a dance routine. I don't know. It's something that's been done before, a routine. They do a routine that someone did before, and Mike Wazowski's using everything that he learned. He's scratching the things, he's winding up porcelain dolls to walk, he's using wires to trip the adults, and Mike is like running around like throwing things off, and it's like funny that I think about it. And then like Sully's like on top of here, and he would like come out and go rah to me, and that's what he did to the adults, and he screamed really loud, and the door ended up being so strong because there were adults screaming that the lights went out and everything. Like, that's the day, wait, and that's the night the lights went out in Georgia. Anyways, so they come back, the door freaking explodes because the screams were that terrifying, and the door breaks, whatever. That's how like big the scream was. That's how you know Mike's good at managing. So why did I say all this? Well, that was after the whole like river scene where like they kiss one another and they make up because they realize, oh yeah, I'm not scary, but I'm great at other things. And then Sully's like, no, yeah, I'm scary, but I suck at everything. Okay, we have that yaoi scene, and then it cuts to the whole, oh, let's do this. They break the door, they're back in the monster world. Obviously they're expelled from university, and you know what, that's okay, because through the way they did that, the professor was like, I hope great things for you guys, you know, whatever. They become workers at Monsters Inc. as the lunch line. And then they switched to laundry, and then they switched to janitor, and because of Sully's nepotism, he became a scarer. But he needed a manager. So Mike probably went back to community college to do like managing courses, like how to manage a scarer. And like, yeah, he learned everything he learned at the scare program, so he had that in. He probably had to do like a second course or something to know what type of scares to recommend Sully if he has a bad day or something, I don't know. And yeah, Sully, he just had to use nepotism, learned a few things. I'm sure he has a baseball card of himself. Anyways, we cut to Monsters Inc. Sully is like one of the best scarers out there. Randy's jealous, so he teams up with the CEO of Spider-Man to make a machine so Randy could get his like screams up or whatever, and you know, so Spider-Man could get like all the electricity because kids aren't being scared of monsters anymore. So he's trying to do everything he could to save his company, and he's researching new methods on how to do it. Okay, so turns out Randy's been doing something. He's been making Boo scream a lot so he could have his numbers up, of what I'm assuming. And then Sully sees this, so he goes in there. Boo escapes. He has to save this little girl. Why do they even have that? Okay, so they're hiding it from Spider-Man. Spider-Man finds out, and then he's pretty chill about it, you know? Turns out it's not chill about it because we find out that Spider-Man and Randy were making a machine to automatically make kids scream. They're gonna do that. And Sully's like, this is a 3-year-old girl we're talking about here. This is Boo. This is like my kid. So they have to do their best to save Boo. But then Spider-Man, but before this, Sully did a really big scream and it scared Boo, okay? And that's when like Spider-Man finds out like, oh, this is a human girl or whatever, because Boo runs to her. And you find out that Spider-Man's evil. So then that's when Mike and Sully get kicked out of the human world. No, wait, of the monster world. And they're in the human world because they got banished, and they meet the abominable snowman. And Bigfoot wasn't there for some reason because, you know, he's like in Alaska or something, and this takes place in the Bahamas, which is like real beachy. So yeah, they argue like the yaoi boyfriends they are, as the Kyoya and Tamaki people are from your own high school host club. And then yeah, they go back in because, what did they do? I don't know what they did, but they went back in there. I forgot who they made scream. I don't know. So they're back in square one now. And they find out about the machine, and then they save Boo, and then the president is like, oh, I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company, and then I'll stop anyone who stops me from doing so. They fire him, and then the company's like, oh, you know, what are we gonna do now? No, Mike says it. He's like, if only there was a way to like make electricity by making people laugh. And then Sully's like, he finds out, yeah, that works, because whenever Boo laughed, the electricity went up. So Mike gets his main character moment. Mike is the one making people laugh, and Sully is the one managing, because scaring does nothing. So they had to change the way, like, the education system. They had to change history, and they had to change the education system, because now Mike is the one on that baseball card and not Sully. Because now, instead of like scaring being the electrician major as the main source of electricity, they're gonna switch it to comedy. Comedy is the main major you want to do if you want to make electricity. Not electrician school, comedy. They make people smile. And you know who was making people like scream? Nihilist and the Frowning Friends. So in some world out there, the Frowning Friends is Monsters Inc. and then it gets turned into Smiling Friends. That would make sense, right? No, it really doesn't. Anyways, if Pim Pimling was in this world, he would have had his own baseball card because he makes people smile. He loves helping kids, Charlie. He really does love helping kids. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, if he was like in this world, he would have been like at hands in hand with Mike Wazowski. They would have been the ones to be on the top of the list. And like, you know, it used to be Sully and Randy, but Mike and Pim would get along about the situation. They would really get along about the situation, okay? So yeah, in a perfect world, Pim Pimling was born into the Monsters Inc. universe. And I say all this because Mr. Boss freaking sucks. Okay, I need to talk about the birth of Pim. Pim was born into a broken home. At some point, his father loved him because he took him to the Enchanted Forest and he says, one day you'll get together. Oh, I love you, Daddy. Okay, we know this. Something happened because the home ended up being broken. His mom drinks a lot, his dad always works at the Bloody Mines, and his siblings all hate him. And you can tell he's like white trash. You see the walls. You see the kids running around. There's a bunch of them. So he's born into a broken house like that. He probably would take after his father or his mother. He doesn't. He breaks generational trauma. And because of this, he's gonna do something with his life. But he just happens to be disabled. His eyes aren't always working, and he has like memory issues, because you see this later in the Brazil episode where he forgets a thing. And he's like very forgetful too. He forgets quite a few. That's okay, it doesn't matter. He's still Pim. He's still Pim. And his eyes, you know they're bad, but it's okay because he could always go to the eye doctor. I know he's been saying that for 6 months, but he's gonna do it eventually. He's really insecure about his eyes, but that's not the main like part about him. He's so much more than that. So he's born into an abusive home. He breaks generational trauma. He's going to be the next big thing because guess what? He goes to community college. He gets his degree. He probably meets Charlie at community college because community college was a backup plan for Charlie because he wanted to be like a streamer or something of the sort, something to like make video games. I don't know what he does, but yeah, they meet there. You know how I said, just wait. So this is how it starts. I brought up Monsters Inc. because the major that it's to be an electrician, to be a scarer, used to be to scare. The major is now comedy. So in the Smiling Friends universe, they make people smile. So Pim had to get a degree in psychology in order to become a smiling friend because it's like therapy in a way, you know? So boom, we have that. Why did I say this? Why did I say Pim's broken into a broken home and now he's in community college to get a degree in psychology? He gets his bachelor's, he gets his master's. Maybe someday he'll do a doctoral program. I don't know. Same with Charlie, same with Alan, same with Gleb. They all have psychology degrees. Now, this is where we get into Smiling Friends as a company compared to Monsters Inc. We know it's a big company. We know it's incorporated. We all know the CEO. Luigi could have met him, but he didn't. Okay, now we're at Smiling Friends. Okay, we know it's a big business because there's a no exception policy. That's how you know that this is big. And to give like how I know that, if you look at the pilot episode, before they failed to make Desmond smile, mind you, Pim wanted to go on the adventure. Someone calls him old. He sees his broken home. It's fine. It's fine. We're talking about Desmond. So they failed to make Desmond smile because Pim like went out of it. And Charlie didn't have good work ethic that day. And he was like, you know what? We failed to make you smile. Can you just sign paperwork with us? Like, you have to come back to the office to sign paperwork that said we failed to make you smile. And Desmond agrees to this. Desmond happens to shoot something. And then he's like, that felt good. And he becomes an exterminator. And you're happy for Desmond. And he ends up smiling. You know, that's great. But how do we know like it's a big business? Because he was going to file paperwork that said we failed to make you smile. That's how you know they don't play. In the Brothers Egg episode, Mr. Boss brings Jared Fuddle, you know, the Subway guy. And Pim and Charlie are disgusted. And then Mr. Boss like, you know, we're not allowed to deny a guest from anybody. So that's who you're going to help today. And they're completely disgusted because this is so gross. They can't deny anyone. We'll take every request, even the goofiest guest type of thing we got going on. Okay. Then Mr. Boss goes, I'm just fucking with you. And then he does the dog thing. And then Charlie was like, okay, yeah, you got me. He got me. Okay. Because we had the signing paperwork, we had that we can't deny anyone. Someone also, Charlie says this like, oh, you know, we're like a charity. They're getting paid to be in this charity because in the Frowning Friends episode, which, hey, totally not related, but imagine if Frowning Friends was originally going to be Monsters Inc. because they make people frown. Just saying. So in the Frowning Friends episode, we find out that they do get 401ks. It's just the Frowning Friends had a better one because they do it unethically. And Gleb and Alan leave because Alan's like, they had a better 401k. That's how you know this is serious. Now that we know what type of deal we're getting into with the Smiling Friends, you know that a degree is going to be required for this type of work. So Pim, Charlie, Gleb, and Alan all have some form of like requirement to work there. So they all have a degree in psychology because you have to have like knowledge on how to make someone smile. We see this with Alan in the Gwimbly episode. We haven't got to Gleb yet, but you know he means business if he's been around for like 1,000 years. And Smiling Friends has been around for 30 years. He picked up on a few things, you know, I can guarantee. Mr. Boss knows that he has the best worker, Pim. I told you how Pim was brought up into this world, how he was born into this world. So he makes people smile, and Mr. Boss knows this. In the Spamtopia episode, Mr. Boss is xenophobic, and he's talking about how he has to go to Spamtopia to get a gem. And then he's like, I don't know that wacko language. And they're like, Spanish? No, Spanish. And then Pim's like, oh, I know a little bit of Spanish. Wait, I know a little bit of Spanish. I had a pen pal in Spamtopia. And then, to clarify on that, in the ketchup and mustard episode, there's like these two little eyeballs, and they spit something at Pim, and they say something, and Pim's like, what type of story is that? That didn't tell me anything. And then Charlie was like, wait, how the heck did you know what they were saying? And then Pim was like, what? He knew what they were saying. Turns out they were from Spamtopia. And now Pim's saying he had a pen pal there. So he becomes Mr. Boss's buddy for the day. And the girls are fighting back home, talking about, oh, this little baby thingy is like gone. How are we gonna tell Mr. Boss? You know, I never really liked you because you bit on my nose one time. I don't think you remember that, but yeah, you did that. And I just want to let you know, like, I wasn't okay with that. Oh, I don't think I did that. If I did, it sound like it really bothered you, and I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm glad we're talking about it now. Whatever, they're doing that over there. So Mr. Boss and Pim are trying to talk to the ruler of the world. And turns out Pim messes up, but that's okay. Mr. Boss is really nice about it. So he's like, just take one. We'll go out with a bang. And then Pim does a little Spanish prayer. And then turns out the pen pal was the ruler. And Mr. Boss and him work out their xenophobic. No, just Mr. Boss's xenophobia. You know, that's mean. How am I going to put that on the pen pal? Anyways, so it all works out at the end. Mr. Boss was nice to Pim. Pim was nice to Mr. Boss. And now I got to talk about the freaking Halloween episode. All because this all started because Mr. Boss asked Pim if he could get some firewood. I lied. That's not how it went. Pim offered. Despite coming from a broken home and having bad vision and having a lack of a memory, we know that Pim is kind. So he offers Mr. Boss to get firewood, completely out of free will. And you know he does, he gets traumatized, he runs back in. Mr. Boss saves the day because, you know, that's how it is. So, We have like 2 separate times where Pim tried to help out Mr. Boss. 1 of them getting firewood for him, 2 going to Spamtopia with him, and 3 overall, he's just a really good worker. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows what job he got because he worked hard for it. He graduated out of a degree with psychology. He probably wasn't the valedictorian, that's okay, but he graduated on the dean's list. I'm on the dean's list. I'm not saying I'm Pim. I'm far from it. I'm evil. I know that. Okay, that's okay. But Pim's great, and Mr. Boss does not appreciate him in the slightest. That's what I thought to myself. And then I got the answer to what I was looking for. I knew it's awful. So, Pim makes people smile. And I feel, since what I'm hearing right here, I feel that he would be great in Monsters University, in Monsters Incorporated. Pim would have his own baseball card. I'm telling you, that's literally the life he would have. And Mr. Boss doesn't realize this. You know who would appreciate him? I'm sure Benson would appreciate Pim more than Spider-Man and Mr. Boss. If Benson was his, like, boss, it'd be over. It'd be over. It would be over, isn't it? Isn't it over? No. I know it's over. I could feel. Anyways, so we know that Pim's nice. We know that Charlie, he got a degree, but he doesn't really have a good work ethic. He's pretty lazy about it. And then we figure out that despite this, he's still valuable because he makes James smile. Yeah, because it's a good thing. So now I'm gonna get back to what I was talking about. Without Pim and Charlie, Mr. Boss has nothing. In the Frowning Friends episode, the world could have ended in shambles because Mr. Boss realized that if he made frowning friends instead of smiling friends, it would have been over. He was like, ingenious. Why didn't I think of that? Dude, that could have been Monsters Inc., like OG Monsters Inc. Do you see what I'm saying now? That's what I'm trying to get at. Anyways, so Mr. Boss is going crazy, and then Pim's like, let's go and make people smile. And they do, and they fail, because get out of my head, get out of my head. We have that, we have nihilism, we have, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, 3D Squelton hates lies. And then we find out, does, I don't know, balloons, do they go out of business in a few years? We never know. Turns out it was 100% real. We only have 8 years left. Well, I do, I don't know. So, we find out, do they find out? Yeah. Alan's like, yeah, we got better 401ks over here. And then, you know, Mr. Boss shows why he's good at his job because he makes the purple one smile. Doesn't matter because the Renaissance men came into town, so it didn't matter anyway. Just know that they had like a runner-up coming around. They had an Emmy. They had an op. They had to take down the op, okay? And then Pim, Charlie, everyone lives happily ever after. The Smiling Friends is still smiling, but we could thank Pim and Charlie for this because, you know, they're good at their job. So, Mr. Boss, everyone's at peace. Everyone comes down. That was, yeah, okay. Now we're getting into like season 3, I want to say. This is where my whole dilemma starts. So we start the episode off. I forgot to bring up Mr. Frog. I'm not done. So Mr. Frog, in his own being, is to me the Antichrist. Okay, he's awful in everything. He's mean. Like, he's so freaking mean. So when he first meets Pim, he pulls on his exposed nerve ending. I forgave him for that because he wasn't aware. Because we find out in the episode later that Pim, it's his exposed nerve. And that's, I'll get into that later. Anyways, so pulls on his exposed nerve ending. And he wins the presidency. He achieves everything in life. He got away. And, you know, good for him, I guess. He gets this whole montage with him and his father. What do we get? I was working in the mines. And we also get the Enchanted Forest part, or whatever. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how Mr. Frog is depressed now because he won everything. So when Pim and Charlie want to go out for lunch, Pim sees Mr. Frog, and then he's like, do you think we should help him? And then Charlie is like the least happy about it, even though Mr. Frog was his goat. He's lazy about it. And Pim's like, no, let's help him. And then, yeah, Mr. Frog's like, okay, you can make me smile. He takes his eye out, and then Pim's like, oh, what? And then, yeah, Pim forgave him, I guess, and that's okay, since it's Pim. Pim's that nice. So, yeah, he does that. Charlie gets an idea. Let's put Mr. Frog in the UFC competition. First guy comes up. What does Mr. Frog do? He does that. Fine, whatever. So, a bunch more come up. We got some Naruto runners up in here. We got the scouts coming in. We got, I don't know, we got all the ops. We got Olive Gang. We have Olive Garden. And what does Mr. Frog do? Yeah, he does that. Cool. We're at the park, and Mr. Frog looks at his medals. He throws them into the sun, and he's just giving up. But Mr. Frog finds out something. He figures it out. How does this happen? Pim sings a song. And then Mr. Frog stops him. He kicked him a little bit. And what does that do? You tell me. You saw what he did to every UFC fighter. And the fact that Pim managed to survive this, his eye coming off again, and he's wheezing, it was a miracle that happened, okay? Trust me. We're gonna find out if he lives or not because the Bug of Wisdom is gonna flip a coin. And the Bug of Wisdom, if it's heads, the Bug of Wisdom is gonna give Pim another shot. If it's tails, no thank you. So Mr. Frog leaves, Charlie's calling the ambulance or whatever, and yeah, we leave it at that. What's Mr. Boss doing? I don't know, probably not appreciating Pim because the Frowning Friends could be out of business if they don't have Pim. The same way how Mike Wazowski was it, there will be no more electricity. I'm gonna tell you right now. The way how they had like that cockroach lady being like the main woman because she's retired, so now she's at university, even though she was like the best scarer, that they had to lock one of hers up because, you know, it was a one-in-a-lifetime thing. Yeah, that's gonna be Pim over there. That's gonna be Mike and Pim. Mike and Pim are going to be that role someday, but not Pim because he's not in this world. So one day, Mike is gonna be too old to scare, so now he's gonna linger around the university the same way how that lady did. Do you see where I'm getting at? Do you see why I even brought that up in the first place? You know how I went on a long rant to tell you about how Mike had his happy ending? Well, now we're back to Pim. Pim's in the Smiling Friends universe. He's in Pennsylvania, for crying out loud. And I think this is true because in the President episode, Glep is leaked or whatever. They leak him, and Pennsylvania is like on the top of the screen. That's how you know it's in Pennsylvania. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know. We find out that Pim's in this world. He's back to where he is. He doesn't get anything. He doesn't get Mike Wazowski's ending. He's stuck here in this stupid world where people are mean to him for no reason. You know, he doesn't have like many wants in life. He just wants to make people smile. He thought about love. In the Shrimp Odyssey episode, he was about to go all out, but then he decides to do the good thing at the end. He decides to do his job because he gives up the girl. And yeah. And also in the Halloween episode, as before, he settles in on a cabin and he's like, that's where the younglings will sit. Hello to him, hello to him, hello to him. That's how we find out that, hey, even though it's not his main character, it's not his main role, it's not his want, he doesn't need an I want song to this because it's not a priority. It's a nice fantasy, but his dream is to make people smile. He doesn't want to be like his family. He doesn't want to be like his dad. He wants to be something more. He wants to be Pim Pimling, even when he's wrong. Even in the Brazil episode, he took accountability for what he did wrong because he's a good person. He's not being gaslit. Well, he's not gaslighting others. He's accepting it. He's like, I know if I did something wrong, I could admit to it. But you guys are ganging up on me. And then everyone's like, we're not attacking you. We're not attacking you. Even though you clearly were. You were clearly October 12th, okay? So, it's back to the modern day. Pim is in a coma, from what we know. He survived Mr. Frog. The bug of wisdom threw the coin, landed on heads. Pim survives. And we get to the point where the door opens because Charlie was like, hey, I just want to let you guys know that Pim's really messed up. Like, he looks bad, just the swelling. And he's like, hi guys. Is it bad? Yeah, it's still same old Pim on the inside. And then Mr. Boss, the Spider-Man of it all, the Mr. Krabs of it all, walks in and he's like, yo, you guys seen Pim's new face on Facebook? Right in front of his best freaking employee. If he didn't have Pim, he would have nothing. And the fact that he didn't even care, he was just making fun of him. I would be distraught. And it made me so sad because Pim is such a good person. That's why I went on a rant about his backstory. That's why I told you, like, how many times he saved the company. He is the smiling friend. He's the main one. And Mr. Boss just freaking laughed at him. Without him, there is no Easter Bunny, there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no Queen of England. Like, you have nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. That's what happens if you don't have Pim. And the fact that Mr. Boss knew this because in the third episode, in the episode right after this, Pim and Charlie fall to their fates or whatever. They meet Mole Man. I think the joke was pretty annoying. I really don't find it funny, but I think that's an allegory for self-inserts. It could be a allegory for self-inserts. I'm just saying. A lot of y'all probably look like him, but that's okay because he had a pretty good one, you know? So, yeah. Without them, Mr. Boss witnesses what happens and he screams and he cries and he says, no, there's no more smiling friends. And then he realized Alan and Glep are also hired, but I think there's different branches when it comes to the job. Like, yeah, they have a degree in psychology, but Pim and Charlie are the main ones taking course in action when it comes to making people smile, okay? Even though they're still all required to do that. The same way how all teachers are required to do a certain thing, but they don't all teach the same subject, but they got the requirements to teach. Same way how Alan and Glep have the requirements to make people smile, they just go different ways about it and focus on different criterias of it. The same way how in Monsters University, the monsters are acting like monsters, but not all of them make people scream. Does that make sense? I hope it did. There's different parts of jobs, you know? Different fields or whatever. So, yeah. Pim and Charlie are gone. Mr. Boss is crying for once. And, yeah, instead of, like, he calls the ambulance, he calls the authorities for once. It took him 3 seasons to finally do something. Anyways, he gets over it real fast. It's in the span of 30 seconds where he's like, hey, Alan, Gleb, you guys are also, like, you guys work here. Go do something. Go be somebody. Go clock in. And then Alan's like, I thought we were already the smiling friends. Then Gleb's like, so they dip. And then Mr. Boss is like... And he's like that for the entire episode. So I guess in a way it was him grieving of what happened at the last episode and him realizing that, oh my gosh, without Pim, I have nothing. Anyways, that's what I was really mad about. I'm mad with the ending that I got from that because it gave me nothing. I was crying for a week talking about how, like, they treat Pim. And I, like, got into, like, some debate online where someone's saying that I'm infantilizing him. Excuse me? I'm not inflating him, you idiots. I just told you why I feel sympathy towards a 34-year-old man because he was a parallel to Mike Wazowski, but in this case, Mike Wazowski got his ending in his world. Pim's not in Mike's world, and he's stuck in freaking Pennsylvania, not getting a happy ending. Yeah, love isn't his requirement, but it would be nice to have. He doesn't get that. He just wants to make people smile, and the times that he does, he puts his life on the line. And even if he's not making people smile, he's trying his best not to be like his father. Every day he walks in remembering what happened, remembering what shifted from his dad wanting to take him to the Enchanted Forest when he was older, or him ignoring him when he finally came home because he was working in those bloody mines. He got away from that. He got a job, and this job makes him smile because he makes people smile. And in order to get this job, he had to go to like 4 years of school. 2 years in community college, 2 years in some other thing I want to say. I don't know because that's what's happening to me. I get 2 years of community college and then I go to university. I mean, I'm not there yet. I'm on my 2nd year. I doubt I'm going to graduate from sociology. But Pim graduates in psychology, which is great. I'm happy for him. And yeah, he becomes a smiling friend. He's the best in town. So the stocks are booming, birds are chirping, children are playing, and it's days like this where kids like you, I'm not going to finish that. Anyways, is that my arm? Why does it look like that? Anyways, yeah, I just got really mad about how Mr. Boss went about it. I think he could have done better. I think if Pim was in regular show, he would be like somewhat used to that because of the alien episode that happened. Yeah, he couldn't take it and he found out the earth was flat. But to be honest, I think with a bit of a training that he got from Benson, I think he'll be okay. He would get really along with Skips and Pops. I just know him and Pops would be besties. And he would look at Skip as like a mentor because like Skips is really cool. And then when it comes to Mordecai and Rigby, he remembers Charlie because Charlie and Rigby and Mordecai are all in the same age because they're in their early 20s. And he's gonna be like, those were the good old days. But he's happy in this world. And if he was in the Monsters University, I think that him and Mike and Sully would all be in a polyamorous old man Yowie. That's what he's not that old. Nah, he is. Go home to your wife. Where's your kids, man? Yeah, Pim is getting pretty old. But, you know, that's what I was just saying. Like, I just think this person on my comment section talk about you're infantilizing Pim is wrong because I just ranted about how he's an old man, how he has ambitions and dreams, and how he's not being appreciated by his coworkers, by his boss. He has a friend. Even then, they argue like regular human beings because that's what people do at times. But even then, like, we haven't gotten anything about who Pim hangs out with after work. We know that Charlie's online. We know that he's on the internet. We know he watches movies. And he probably has games online because that's what most, like, Redditors do. I should know I'm one of them. I'm a Redditor, so what? Anyways. What was I saying? Pim. We don't know if Pim has other friends besides Charlie and his coworkers for all that matters. He could just be, like, with one friend. And that's okay. But I feel like if he was at Monsters University, that wouldn't be the case. Because he would be at the top of his game, dog. He would be the next professor at Monsters University. And if he was in the regular show, bro, he would get along with everyone because they're all in, like, his age range. I think he's the ages between, like, Benson and I want to say Skips. No, wait, Skips is, like, super old. I'm tripping. Maybe just Benson on that one. I'm going to be for real. But once he sees Mordecai and Rigby doing their shenanigans, he's going to think back to all the adventures he had with Charlie and how Charlie is still in the same age range as them. Does that make sense? 20s? Dude, I'm in my 20s. Yeah, 1920s. Oh, I don't know. No, that's all I wanted to freaking say. And then someone said I'm infilizing him. Are you kidding me? I'm not. And then I had a whole rant about them. It's different if I'm, like, infilizing someone. It'll probably be like Butters from South Park because he isn't objectively, like, a kid. He's an elementary student. And all he does is, like, nothing. He does nothing. And his parents ground him for that. He's a baby. Like, he's literally, like, a freaking 4th grader. Like, that's a baby. Like, oh. So, of course, I get that. But I can also understand his, like, character development, you know? I thought he was a good kid. Turns out he said the N-word to someone, and that's really messed up, Butters. I don't know why you did that. Say goodbye to college because you're not going. Yeah, he has development, trust. So that I could set aside. I could see where you're coming from. Here's the thing, though. Here's what you're not gonna get at me for. You know how I was calling Pim an allegory for Mike Wazowski? Yeah, I could say Pim is also similar to SpongeBob freaking SquarePants. Unappreciated by their boss, Mr. Krabs sold SpongeBob for some change, Mr. Boss laughed at Pim's face when he got into an accident despite him being his best worker. So yeah, they had that in common. And then they had the rivalry. They had Plankton and they had the Frowning Friends, okay? You're not gonna get at me about anything, trust me, okay? I knew what I was freaking saying. So the thing is, people think that SpongeBob is so freaking cute. There's a bunch of merch of him. People just think he's la-la-la-la-la, but he's more than that. He goes to boarding school because he doesn't know how to drive a boat. That's okay. I'm 19. I don't drive. That's fine. Who cares? He has a job. He has a 401k. He does not. I'm lying. I'm lying to you. He does not get that. He does not get paid enough time off. He does not get paid time off, okay? He works at stinking dead-end job just like Moral Oral in Clay Pumpington. Ignore that. Sorry. Anyways, so we know that. SpongeBob is like one of the most characterized people of all time. People mischaracterize him. But to be honest, the shows did that to him. They set him up for failure, okay? We get that. The thing with Pim is he is objectively drawn like that, in a sense of like Jessica Rabbit. I'm just drawn that way. Yeah, same with Pim. He's supposed to look like a freaking Muppet when he makes someone like smile. No, I lied. When he makes himself happy, he gets like in this puppeteer like way where he's like, let's go and make people smile. I love helping you, Charlie. I love kids. I love the Enchanted Forest. We see like in 3 times where his mouth does one of these. That's objectively cute. I don't know what to tell you. It's supposed to remind you of like childhood. It's supposed to remind you like, oh, like Pim's very much giving like Sesame Street and the Muppet Show. I don't know what to tell you. So because of that, we also see Charlie. Charlie's lazy and fat and apathetic, and you're just lazy and diabetic. Call me what you want. I got thick skin. Another bad pun, and I'm finished with him. We are monsters. The Theophilus kind takes a lot of us to mess with lots of spines. Oh, anyways, what was I saying? Yes, that's what I was saying. So, what was I saying? I was talking about Pim, right? Yeah, so Pim's supposed to be drawn cute because Charlie is like the complete opposite. He's fat and lazy and ugly. Well, I don't think that. I think he's really cute. But, you know, that's what he's supposed to be, you know? He says, God, do I really look like that? I need to lose weight, like, I think immediately. That is disgusting. Pim's supposed to be the opposite. So he's, like, cute. He's pink. He's supposed to be green. You know, he turns green, but that's okay because he's pink. It's like SpongeBob and Patrick, but reversed, even with the way how their characters are, okay? I don't know how it hasn't clicked to you yet. Literally, it's them switched. I don't know what else to say. So, because of this, we know that Pim is objectively supposed to be adorable because he's such a good person and he's supposed to be this, like, silly little man. And that's not just me speaking out of my ass here. I'm not. Trust me. Even the creators were like, hey, like, Pim's just like a simple guy, you know? Yeah, he really is a simple guy who just wants to fall in love and have a family one day. That's not all he is. He's way more than that. And I just explained to you why. How he came from a broken home, broke free of that, became the best worker he could be, and doesn't get appreciated. That's what I brought up about him. But this person had the audacity to say that I'm freaking weird. Screw you, man. Go do something with your life before you come at me for anything. Trust me, I have nothing going on in there. I have nothing. Trust me. I sucked the everlasting glob sucker. You can suck it and suck it and suck it. It'll never come out. That happened to me, okay? Trust, there's nothing special about my life. But what we're not gonna do is for you to say that to me when I already told you that. And how did I tell you that? Because I went on this long rant about Pim from Smiling Friends when I could have been doing something better by getting my freaking degree in sociology, which is something I'm going to do. I have a lecture in like 30 minutes. No, wait, an hour and 30 minutes. I still have time. Regardless, I'm in college. I write fan fiction. I don't have a job. I don't have anything going for me. Yes, I have a boyfriend. Yes, I have a few friends. But is that all that I am? Am I just someone's support? Am I just someone's backbone for their life? No, of course not. I'm my own being. And if I want to waste my time crying about something,
I ran out of freaking storage, so I can't record anything on here anymore, and that's fine. I could live with that. But anyways, to the people that I was arguing with online, I hope you have a bad day. I hope you get all of the above. I hope you get etc. And there is nothing left in my mind. You won. You won the battle. And now I'm suffering alone alongside Pim because you don't know how to act. You don't know how to hold your mouth. I do, and I didn't when it came to you. You were the only exception, and I ranted for so long that there's nothing left for me to say.